My name is Andrew Brousseau from Black Earth Compost. I'm an earth scientist. I left academia and oceanography to return to land to learn about the flow of nutrients through society, so nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and that quest led me to composting. And I don't know if you heard Domingo talking about the importance of that, but just remember, fertilizer is mined from foreign soil. So what are we trying to do here? By recycling organics, we're trying to recycle those nutrients. So I think if we embrace that, then we can actually lead our states to prosperity through compost utilization and supporting our regional food system. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I was asked to discuss some of the technologies that we have at our compost facilities in Massachusetts and like how those allow us to exist in the urban, suburban, zone. And then what are some of the results when we're able to put compost facilities there? And I would call that generally the decentralized composting. So real quick, Black Earth Compost, we do both the compost collection and the compost production. This is what our food scraps look like. This is municipal, picked up from residents and from commercial schools and restaurants. And we take food scraps and certified compostables, so BPI, CMA, and TUV. And I'm happy to talk about that more later. We have 4 different compost facilities in Massachusetts, 4 different processes. We collect 300 tons a week of food scraps. That's about 15,000 tons per year. We have a gamut of different processes from turned windrow with an excavator on sites with no electricity, all the way up to 2 sites where we're partially indoors and then fully indoors. So, like I said, we got 4 facilities in the state: Groton, Manchester, Framingham, Wareham. So one hallmark of these facilities in the urban suburban area is there's no land, and if you did get land, it's very expensive, and zoning's restricted. So our model of composting has been honed to work on very small parcels. So we're talking 1.5 acres, 2.3, 3. Neighbors are close, which we've learned to hide, and I'll talk about some of that stuff. But the advantage is that neighbors are close, but so are the resources, because those neighbors are the ones producing the food scraps and the carbon and the compostable packaging, right? Those are your 3 resources that our business, our industry is designed to harvest out of the urban suburban area, right? That's what we're after. Capture the resource, turn it into a finished product, enrich the soils in the rural parts of our state. And I don't know if you noticed, but I just said urban, suburban, and rural together. So maybe composting's a way to bring those factions of our country together. So the first technology is composting itself. The fact that we're even making compost, that's like a technology that allows us to exist in these spaces. So this is an example of, we did a waste audit of residential trash, right? 25% was trash, 28% recycling, 47% was compostable, we found, right? So because we're composting, we can capture a large part of that waste stream. If you're not taking certified compostable packaging, you cut that down. Rhode Island's waste study showed 6% of the waste was compostable paper, right? And now if you're going to a depackager, you gotta cut that down again, because rinds, cobs, bones end up getting sorted out and they go to the trash. So with composting, we're able to capture more of the residential stream, right? And actually put it to good use. So second technology we use is indoor receiving. So some of our sites don't have that, but some do because they're closer neighbors. So this is one site in Groton, Mass. We worked with Green Mountain Technologies to design the aeration system. and we did the layout of it. But basically, indoor receiving is great because food waste comes in every day the entire year. So whether it's sunny, muddy, rainy, snowy, windy, whatever, dumping inside prevents all kinds of issues. Whether it's like dumping in mud or wind blowing stuff away. It also hides the material from birds, rodents. There's kind of a debate in composters, do you dump on the pile and mix it right in, or do you have a dump station? So we've gone towards the dump station idea, and we put a cover over it, so we dump inside. Dumping on the pile can be hard, because now you're asking your truck to drive through the compost site, potentially through mud, any time of the year. So dump inside. So at our Manchester facility, we dump inside and we do 4 weeks inside. So food scraps and carbon go in the front of the building. We do 4 weeks inside, turning piles and aerating it. Again, Green Mountain helped us with the aeration system. Now when material comes out back, we've managed the moisture, so it's drier now. The food's long gone, compostable packaging gone. It's black, homogeneous, ready for curing. It could go straight to a farm, or residents need it cured. And so it's gotten it through the nuisance stage too, for odors. Also, we're like preventing odors from even forming because we're aerating the whole time. So this is the one method we have for like when you're really close to neighbors, is like, let's get it through all the hard stages inside. Another technology is just our scale of 60 to 100 tons. Like, it is a deliberate choice. That's 60 to 100 tons of food waste per week. It means that you can have this equipment and keep it utilized, right? If you have more tons of food waste in, then you need even more equipment. If you have less tons of food coming in, then this stuff becomes underutilized and the capital costs get spread over a smaller amount of tons of food waste. So your cost to process each ton of incoming food is higher. So for this size equipment, we choose, this scale works for this size of equipment, right? Like your next scale down would be like skid steer size, and that has its own tonnage amount. And another advantage, or another technology, is just under CDL trucks, because these trucks are stopping and starting, all on streets. You go to one house, you stop, throw your food in, then you accelerate, get to the next house, throw your food in. Right, a truck that's 30 tons, like a CDL Packer truck, that's a lot of weight to accelerate. The trucks are more expensive, the drivers are more expensive. These trucks keep us light and nimble, and we can get around neighborhoods to do the residential collection. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So because these trucks are small, right, and we're doing decentralized composting, so sites across the state, now those trucks don't have to travel far to get the food, right? If you have a large packer truck and you go into a large facility, that large facility needs to pull food waste from a very large radius. So that's a lot of energy costs. You're getting on highways, you're hitting traffic. With our small trucks and small sites in the communities, we can avoid highways, and we have small distances to get from the facility in the morning out to pick up the food waste and back. So that's less distance, less traffic, and less fuel, right? That's good. We're all trying to do less. And one of the results is now you can send the compost out to farms and the urban, suburban area on a shorter distance. And another thing is, when the food waste doesn't have far to travel to the facility, at that facility, through composting, you're getting volume and weight reduction, right? So you're shrinking the material. So the finished product is like half the volume and half the weight. So now you're not moving as much stuff in total, right? I don't know if that you guys are following that, but basically, if you have to truck all your heavy, wet food waste really far to a far compost facility, then turn it to compost, you're kind of like missing some savings here that we get. So I think Rhode Island can do all their households. So I'm talking about what's a plan for getting municipal programs going in all of Rhode Island. And I think we need 10 compost facilities in a decentralized fashion around the state. So doing some math to get to that, right? So about 446,000 households. We find that the programs where it's like totally free and it's a municipal program, you get about 50% participation, right? So that's 223,000 households participating. Now, 8 pounds of food waste per week, that's 1.7 million pounds. So about 900 tons of municipal food waste per week. So if you have 100-ton food waste facilities, that's 10 compost facilities. So I think that's attainable. And people wonder about the compost for the end market, right? So 100 facilities would produce about 52,000 cubic yards per year. Now, at 20 cubic yards per acre spreading out, that's only 2,600 acres that you're spreading compost on. And Rhode Island has 52,000 acres of farmland. So I think that a statewide municipal program would actually fit well. And I think 10 compost facilities is achievable. And I think you could make more compost than this because you can mix more carbon in. So if you want to make more compost, great, you can do it. So cost of all that, so 223 households, $2 per household per week, because you have a lot of density, right? You're picking up every bin on the curb. It's about 23 million per year, which again, doesn't seem that bad in the grand scheme of the state budget. And there's savings to be had. I think you'll save about 50 cents per household per week. Someone asked that earlier. So that's about 3 million in savings per year at the landfill at the current trash rates, right? And then you could go to every other week trash and you could save even more. And then 10 compost facilities, 2 million each, that's 20 million capital costs, right? We heard the digester today spent 50 million for an upgrade. Okay, we could solve the state's problem with 20 million. So finally, this is the goal here, right? Trying to make compost out of the resources we have, food waste and carbon, which is in this urban suburban area. Make compost, export it out to where the farms are, build soil, grow food, right? And then get that food back into the urban suburban area. That's essentially what we're trying to do, and that's what decentralized composting can create. And quickly, some ways to get there. I think municipal food waste belongs at compost sites, like we discussed. If it goes through depackager, you lose a lot. I think you should take certified compostable packaging, because that's a solution to PFAS and microplastics. And I think start with pilot programs and start with the elementary schools, right? That's it.